Can you hear me, Brandon?
Sure can. Can you hear me?
Hi, Brandon.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I can't hear you, though. Oh, I have to turn up my volume. I'm the most technical person in our company.
Sure. I am not, thankfully. Would not be good if I was.
How do I look? I feel like I don't look very good.
Look good to me.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Looks like we're waiting for Brad and Evan to get their webcams rolling. Probably a couple more people to join, and then we'll get started here.
Cool. It's my first one.
Awesome.
I'm in sales, so I sell FRSecure.
Okay, great.
I've been thinking about getting a FRSecure tattoo. Just working on the design.
There you go. Hopefully your score is
and the location, of course.
right. Hopefully your score is good enough to publicize.
I sell it.
Okay.
So.
Even better.
Yep.
Okay, just going to try a sound check here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Either of you hearing me?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, great. Good evening from Southeast England.
Awesome.
Wow. Hi.
And at some point, I'll see if I can get this webcam working. It's on, but I'm not seeing it on the screen, so I'm assuming you're not seeing me either.
I can't see you. I think
Okay.
you're in.
All right. I'll keep working on it in the background.
Can you see me?
Hey. Hi, Brandon. Can you hear us?
Evening, Evan.
Maybe.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Is it blinking?
Your light's on.
I think it's got to be. It's supposed to be on. See, there it is. Can you hear me,
Waiting for you
Brandon?
guys.
Oh, hold on. My audio is messed up.
Oh, you know what? It's going to show your video when I'm talking.
You want to use my?
I'll have to use my video, my audio.
Only if you have it in speaker view. If you have it in gallery view, you just see everybody at once.
There we go. Hi, Brandon.
Hey. Is Brad hiding from us? Oh.
Yes.
Is that a security breach?
Oh, yeah, always.
That's what happens when you sign into two devices in the same room.
I think that's how my car started when I tried to, that's how my car sounded when I tried to start it this morning.
Yeah, I hear it's a bit cold over there.
Yeah, it's just a bit, Paul. We miss you. You should be here in this icy, chilly weather.
I was there in November. I'll be back there in.
Because the audio won't.
I've had a bit of cold weather before.
If we want to use that single mic, otherwise we can call in.
I guess I can just repeat what you say. You know what I mean? I think they'll hear you.
Okay. We'll try.
We'll find out. This
Okay.
is a hangout. This isn't some kind of formal
I am.
get your stuff together stuff. I mean, it's not like a board.
Right.
We had that yesterday.
I did. Oh, wait.
You did too. You had one yesterday and I did too.
There we go. Hey, I have my camera on. Yes. Camera's over there.
Hey, it's good to see you, Brad.
Can you hear Brad when Brad talks?
What's that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
If they have you in speaker view instead of gallery view, you're going to show up as Evan, but that's all right.
That's probably for the best.
No, it isn't.
There's a speaker view.
No.
Yeah. The gallery view is everybody. Speaker
I
view
just want to see Evan's picture.
Oh, look at all those people.
Yeah, turn gallery view on. It's way more fun.
Yeah, because then you can. It's like what?
mosaic.
Here's a story of a lovely lady.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Hollywood Squares.
Yeah.
You're not old enough to know what that is.
I've seen it a few times.
Have you? Reruns, I guess.
Yeah.
We saw it on YouTube.
Right. What do you think, Evan and Brad? You guys ready to get rolling? It's 2:03.
Do you have a copy of the book? You don't have a copy.
I left my book. My copy's at home, so I'm actually reading.
You're reading it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're ready. We'll talk about that.
Sweet. Well, I'd like to officially, unofficially welcome everybody to this month's Hangout. We are wrapping up our discussions of Evan's book, which is officially published, finally. So congrats to Evan on that. We're talking about too many / few experts today. It's basically a discussion about how we look for talent in the information security industry, and it's kind of a challenge to do so. Just a few notes here. Everybody is muted on entry. If you do have a question that you'd like to ask Evan or Brad, feel free to unmute yourself. I can do so too. You can also use the hand raise feature that Zoom has too, and we can field questions that way. But I know Evan likes to keep this pretty informal, so feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question or a comment that you want to throw in there. Please do so. In addition, this is recorded as always, so I'll be sending out a follow-up shortly after the Hangout too with the recording and kind of any notes or links that we uncover throughout as well too. So with that, Evan and Brad, why don't you guys take it away?
Really? Just no way to talk.
Okay. I talked to Evan enough.
Yeah, we have a podcast. I don't know if you guys heard it. We're not sure how well we do because we haven't gotten a lot of feedback, but it's
That and I can't listen to myself, so
I can't listen to it.
no, it's horrible.
I don't listen to these things either.
No,
The episode 13 coming up on.
yeah.
How did I get episode 13? So we alternate. Brad does leads one of the podcasts, and then I lead the next one, and we alternate. And somehow I got podcast 13.
See, I always like getting 13, like when I was playing sports, number
You want to
13.
do this one?
No, but I always like doing it because then I was like, oh, well, because people are superstitious. It's in their head already.
There's a lot of
Any
office.
advantage?
There's a lot of office buildings that skip in hotels that skip.
Yeah. The 13 is
13
like
floor.
12 to 14. No, you're still on 13. I'm trying to find. I bet
Okay,
the,
so this is Hangout time, and I do like it informal. I mean, so much of everything is so formal with a lot of work we do. We were just talking when we were starting out today. I'm actually doing this on my brain, on my iPad right now, so it's kind of cool. But we do so many formal things all the time. Board meeting yesterday, and then you had you were on a panel
I was.
yesterday.
Yeah.
And both of those you were subbing for me, which was awesome.
I'm not formal on those.
No, you did
I mean,
great,
were, but-
man. It worked out really well. And then I was in Jersey doing a big global company, their incident response team, which had a bunch of executives on it, and none of them wanted to spend 5 minutes on talking about security or incident response. And I had them for 2 hours. That was really, really good. At the end of it, they were all very pleased. And one in particular, the chief legal officer, even made it a point to come in and say, thanks, that was really, really good.
That's
so
awesome. Yeah, that's good.
But I was formal.
Yeah,
And I had to look the part. I kept the hair. You have this.
That's the benefit of being on the consulting side.
Twinsies.
People doesn't really care. They must know what they're talking about if they look like that.
Right. Hardy Midwestern there.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so the book goes out. This is what it looks like. You haven't seen it before. Everybody here has their copy. Brad says he's actually reading it, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think so far?
I
mean, this is the first time I've asked you, so it's kind of risky for me to ask that in front of people.
What's it worth to you? No. Honestly, I think the topic being one that I'm interested in, but I think it's an easy read in terms of like reading through the font and the layout and what's in there.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly just kind of read through the introduction in the first chapter just to get a feel for it. And I thought it was a good read. It was an easy read. It wasn't like reading through the CISSP.
You can tell me the truth. You can tell me as friends too. You don't have to tell me.
Oh, I would. I already gave you feedback before, so that helps. But it wasn't like reading through like the CISSP book or something where you're just like, wait, what did I just read? And having to go back and reread it because you kind of blank out halfway through.
How far have you gotten?
Just through the first chapter.
Oh, chapter 1.
Yeah, chapter 1.
So did it resonate with you?
I thought so, yeah.
Was there anything in there that you disagreed with?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay. Well, let me know though.
It's been several days since I read. I went home Monday night and
Well, and then we had
read through it, and then it's been cold and
Monday we had snow.
busy, and yeah,
My flights got canceled.
that's so fun. No, I'll have to
So I
go.
was going through.
I'm gonna make notes. I'm gonna go back and actually read it all the way through,
For
just
real this
for
time.
real, and like really grilly on it.
Well, because
I
we're
have to
gonna-
give you improvements because when we write one later, I need to know what to watch out for.
Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm writing another book
You are.
now, and then we're gonna write a book together
Because
the later part of the year.
you are a. what is
I'm
it?
an author, man.
Yeah,
It's like here.
part of the thing.
All right. So chapter 10, this is the last chapter of the book. And I don't know how many pages is chapter 10. 30-something pages? Yeah, about
Okay.
that. 29. And here, and you hear about it everywhere. We have this shortage. I mean, that's one part of this chapter is we have this shortage of information security people
Mhm.
in our industry. That's well publicized. The lights just went out again because
We don't move
we're
enough.
not paying the bills, and we don't move enough. We're security guys. We sit a lot. So the problems covered in this chapter, we need more good people, but we don't know who they are. And the second is the severe talent shortage is painful and getting worse. And the solutions presented in this chapter are define what makes a good security person, and then commit to a cause. In order to fix the talent shortage problem, it's no one person. There's no single solution. It's not just STEM, in
Right.
high school, and it's not just hiring veterans. It's all of it together. And we talked about this in our last podcast,
Mhm.
not knowing. I don't think either one of us planned well.
I had no idea that this was gonna be the topic.
Right.
So, and it was my podcast, so
It was your podcast, yep. And I think what I'm going to talk about this next one is the importance of incident response planning.
Okay.
Because
I've got another one I'm waiting on a call. So
how many IRs we're doing? Too many IRs. IRs incident response. We're doing too many incident responses all the time.
Yeah.
And how many of those incident responses that come here are they from people who have a plan? Try to think of one.
Their plan is to call us. I'm
Right,
trying
there is
to
none.
think. I don't think any of them
Isn't that
that
crazy?
we've dealt with have had a plan.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? And then we have, and I was just at a global company. This is their first plan.
Mhm.
And, it's 2019. So anyway, that's a whole nother thing. That'll be a fun discussion because I think, we can talk about current. One of the challenges in those podcasts is we talk about current things, but then we talk about other things, and sometimes those segues aren't
Yeah.
obvious. I think you did a good job in episode 12, the last episode, because we started off talking about the CISSP mentor program and all this other stuff, and then one of the things we talked about, I think, was talent shortage-ish.
Yeah.
No, maybe I don't remember. Anyway,
GDPR and breach cost,
GDPR,
something
breach
else.
cost. What was that third? Google? Did we talk about Google?
That's
Google
GDPR.
GDPR. All right.
I got notes somewhere.
All right. So we have two, and the chapter is actually titled, "We have too many, few experts," and the many is crossed out. So it's actually too few experts, but kind of a play on words. It's an artistic thing.
It's what happens when you become an author.
Yeah, I guess. All right. And then, it's need an expert, but can't find an expert, found an expert, but can't afford them. That's kind of the opening to this chapter. So problem one, we need to find more good people. We don't know who they are. We've defined, I think, well here, what a good information security person is and what our approach is to hiring security people. But I think the industry hasn't figured that out.
No. Yeah, mishmash of, there's still a lot of the old school, very militaristic.
Yeah.
This is how we're doing it. And then,
Right. And if you've been a CISO before and you've done it that way, you're not a CISO for very long.
no, or you're not well liked anywhere, and you're not getting support, and you're being undermined. And,
Right. And from that came, one of our principles when we first started FRSecure is business is in business to make money,
Mhm.
not to secure information.
Right.
And so if you don't understand that as a CISO, you're not going to have a job as a CISO, right? That's probably, or you're definitely not doing a service to your company.
Right.
It's how do you enable a business to make more money and manage risk along the way?
Right. Right.
That's the trick.
Understanding what the risk appetite is and managing risk to that
Right.
while allowing them to.
Right.
Yeah.
So lots of things about, people debating, what makes a good security person. Some people think it's certification. So I go through sort of what the certifications are in our industry and how, what role they play. There's nothing wrong with certification. What's wrong with certifications is we put too much stock into its value.
It's like back in the early 2000s, the paper in CSE through Microsoft.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I told you how long I've been doing it, but yeah, I know I worked with several that were like highly certified. What do you mean you don't know how to do, add a user or change something? It's like,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Well, when I started in information security, we didn't really call it security, but I started out as a Cisco engineer. And back then, I mean, this is early 90s, I was a CCNP, and name your price. So
Right.
if you just passed the exam,
right.
somehow that automatically made you
That's how
an expert.
I had the experience. But yeah, I got my
Cisco certifications are pretty good.
the Microsoft one before the paper stuff really started flying. But yeah, that was how I got in the door.
Yeah. I got my MCSE in NT4.
I got it in 2000.
Okay.
Novell Network 411 now. Intranetware.
Is that NT4?
I did a lot.
I didn't know. I wasn't really a good admin, but I had a certification, so it didn't matter.
See,
That's the point.
Network side, system admin side, it is different.
Right. But certifications, there's it's a big moneymaker in this industry. The IAC squared makes plenty of money, and I think the CISSP certification is fairly good.
Yeah.
We teach it, but I mean, when you see how much this organization makes in other certifications, some of those may not be that good.
Right.
One of the certifications I was thinking about doing, but I don't know how much trouble I'll get in because I don't do, I don't do as much security stuff anymore, like hands-on
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
But I was thinking I really wanted to go AWS. It's some AWS.
Get back into it a little bit.
Yeah. Because I think we're going to become a partner in AWS.
There's some.
Because AWS is the most popular.
It's like an AWS
Even
certified something.
Yeah, even more than Azure and Microsoft.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, certifications. That's one thing. Education is another thing. And I think a lot of stock is put in that. There's a big push. I don't know how many universities now are offering master's programs in information security assurance or cybersecurity, something. I think hopefully people aren't going into those master's programs thinking that if I get my degree, I'm ready to be a CISO. Right? So hire me at, 225, 250, and let's roll.
We've seen people that think that, and it's a little
Oh, we had one.
awakening.
We used to have one that thought that worked here, right? Are you and I thinking?
Yeah, probably.
One? Okay.
Probably.
All right.
This is where I keep Brandon from sweating too much. We'll draw the line on that.
Yeah, I didn't name names.
No, I know.
Yeah, no. The only person that would know that I said that would be the person that I'm saying it about. And I doubt they're watching. And if they did watch, it'd just be about them.
Yeah.
It's
all about them.
Yeah. Why don't you just say what you mean, Evan? Not making any sense. All right. So, anyway, the problem is outlined in the book. The solution then is to find. let's define what makes a good security person.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like what you read in chapter 1. We talk about information security. We have this language problem. Let's define what information security actually is, so then we can work on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with a good security person. Let's define what makes a good security person. So I use an analogy of, it's like baking a cake, right? You have different ingredients for different types of cakes, right? I'm not a baker, but I know you have to have ingredients to make a cake. I know that if I put too much sugar in, it's going to taste different than if I don't have enough. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
just, if I put salt in on accident instead of sugar, that's going to be a problem. So I use this analogy of, the basic ingredients of making a good security person. And I've always said it, it's 3 things, right? The first is intangibles.
Yep.
That's a non-negotiable ingredient. I will hire, every day I'll hire a good person over a super skilled security person who's a jerk.
Right.
Always. And it has proven to be a really good recipe for us here. We don't have any jerks here.
Mm-mm. No.
Do we? Well, there's
No.
that one guy.
Yeah.
No,
Other than him.
we don't have any jerks here.
No.
No egos. We have
No.
dependable, honest, hardworking. Those are the intangibles. Those things that you cannot teach somebody.
You know they're going to
You
do the
have
right
them
thing
or you
every
don't.
time.
Right. And there's plenty of people out in our industry that are super highly skilled that can hack anything, but they don't have the intangibles.
Right.
They're dishonest, or it's all about them. It's about ego. And if you've been following this industry for a while, you can pick them out pretty fast on who those people are.
Yeah.
Right? There's actually another book coming out soon. I can't remember what it's called. But it profiles 70, I think 70. I can't remember the book, it's eluding me. 70 of the most prolific information security people in our industry today. And it's got a picture and then basically all about them.
Okay.
I'm like, to me, I get it's good for people to know who the titans are, I guess, in our industry and influencers are. But one of the things I don't like is it's just going to feed egos.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, a security person with a big ego is a dangerous thing.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
Anyway, intangibles is the first ingredient. The next ingredient is education, but there's all kinds of different ways to get education. There's not one type of education that's even any better than another type of education. Some people learn better in classrooms. Some people, learn better watching videos and doing hands-on lab type stuff. There are really good security people who have a degree in information security, and there are really good security people who don't, that learned other ways. But having that base education is really important.
Yeah.
That's the second ingredient. The third ingredient then is experience. And experience you can't rush. And how many times have we seen a junior security person enter into this industry and be so damn ambitious, and then basically shoot themselves in the foot, and then they end up leaving here because that's not how we do it here.
Right. And it's not just, we give people opportunities, but you have to prove yourself. You don't just get it because you've been here.
Right.
Oh, 6 months I get this. A year I've been show you can actually do it.
Right.
And then you get rewarded for it.
Right.
Prove it.
Experiences.
You get the opportunities, but nothing's given to you.
Right. You can't undersell experience and having been there before. And I was just talking to Renee this morning. I get so excited when I come back from a couple of days out, just to see everybody, and it makes my whole, it's just awesome. But I was talking to Renee about incident response, right? And you can tell that one of the things when it's really common when you're dealing with an incident response is people panic. They want to go fast, right? They want to urgent, right? And you can tell a good incident responder because they go deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
They still might go at a pretty good pace, but it's not
manic. It's deliberat's a really good word.
Yeah.
I know why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And what it's being done for.
Yeah. So what you don't want, so you could read all the books you want about incident response, and you could be the really trustworthy person, but if you've never dealt with an incident response before, your first one is not going to be pretty if you're leading it.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, because an experienced incident responder has a sense of calmness about them. There's no panic. We got it. And it may be something I've never seen before, but I've done enough incident responses to know
Where to.
where
But
gonna
it's
come
funny, even having been on the IT side of it and dealing, and like I was super calm with that because it's like, okay, I know. But then even leading the IR, doing the IR is a very different thing too. So.
Yeah. So those are the three ingredients in the book: intangibles, education, and experience. And it's a mix of those, depending upon, you know, what flavor, what type of information security person you're building. We do it here. We call it. We used to call it building unicorns, but I haven't called it that much. Or growing unicorns. I don't call it that much anymore, but we used to call it that. And then I go into, you know, sort of the advice that's given in our industry, and you know, some of the issues that brings, because I might have, you know, today anybody with a laptop and a website can be a security expert, right? If I use the right words and use a bunch of acronyms, and you know, you might, well, sure seems like they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's a, you know, just something to be cautious of. You know, consider where you're getting your advice. Consider, do some diligence on where that advice is coming from.
We always, it's funny, people, you know, like, oh, I might need to look at other companies when we're talking to them. I'm like, okay, please do.
Right.
You should be making
find the
sure.
right fit.
I'm very confident with what we're doing, but absolutely do your homework and make sure it's the right choice.
Right.
Or wouldn't you?
Exactly. So anyway, that's that stuff. Problem two within this chapter is the severe talent shortage. It's painful and it's getting worse. There's a lot of debate actually in the information security industry itself about, is the talent shortage as bad as it's publicized? You know, because there are some good security people out there that are looking for jobs. So you got to wonder, if we're 300,000 people short in our industry, why are those people struggling finding jobs? Maybe they miss one of the three ingredients.
Or you know, maybe they think they're at a certain level and people don't think they're there. Or they don't want to be doing lower level things.
Yeah,
It's not maybe not even a match for what's needed.
A good friend of mine sent me an email Monday, I think, saying that she got let go. She was a CISO, got let go because of restructuring, which to me seems a little dangerous, because I think when you restructure, can't you not rehire for that same position again for some amount of time or something? Is there some law?
I don't know. I guess it would depend, you know, if they're publicly traded or not, or all that works. I don't know.
Yeah, because that would be dangerous if you restructure out a CISO.
Yeah, that's
now you're kind of hands are
worrisome.
tied with hiring another one, maybe. Anyway, so we have the supply and demand issue. According to the research, according to what you read, we have, I don't know, last I saw from FRSecure, I think is one that has some tracking there. 715. It was funny because the number was 715. 715,715 information security people employed in the United States.
Interesting.
And I think the way they define that is more than half of your time is spent on security stuff. And then according to them, there was, I think the last number I saw was 285,000 open positions. And we, you know, from everything you read, we've had a 0% unemployment rate for the last 3 to 5 years or something. So, but that comes down to supply and demand, I think. If you have demand for more security help and you can't find it, there's a supply and demand issue. So what are your, you know, some of the things, you know, acquiring new talent is expensive. Pay rates for, pay for people in our industry. Now, if you're an employee in our industry, it's great, right? I mean, this is a good time. 7% annual increases versus 3 in general. So that's great, but it's not good for the industry because it's not sustainable,
Right.
and people can't afford it. I mean, we see organizations over and over and over again that just can't afford security.
No, and we get it all the time where we've had 4 people in the last 3 years in this role. We're tired of them getting their title, and then they're out for more pay because.
Do you need more pay?
I mean, always.
Let's do it.
All right, there you go.
Yep. Approved.
No, it's funny you mentioned that. So I was at the panel yesterday. It was for lawyers, and at the end, one of them came up and was like, I'm going to get my CISSP, and I thought he was going to talk about the mentor program. So I'm like, oh yeah. So, but he's like, what? You do what? Really? Eyes just big as dinner plates, and he's like, oh, but you guys hire lawyers? If I get my join the class and. Yeah, let's talk.
There's the ingredients.
But it's that transition from other industries, right? It's a lawyer looking to get this, still wants to practice law around information security, but potentially moving into a different direction.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I see a lot more lawyers doing that. So you got the acquisition problem is one thing, hiring it. We have retention problems, because there's lots of opportunity in the field, right? So I may acquire talent, invest in that talent, and then you can't retain that talent. Yep. That's also not sustainable. What is it? 60% of information security leaders are being recruited at least once per week. And even I get recruited.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like,
it's like the founder of this company.
Yeah, where am I going? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. LinkedIn is so.
People are desperate.
So much.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that helps for us, and we do need, you always need to increase payments. Not payments, salaries, right?
Yeah. Well, just overall, looking at the compensation too, because it's part of this company culture and all the additional intangibles.
That's totally true. And from my perspective, money's always a constraint. If I had more money, I would give more money away. That's just how I roll.
Yeah.
So, every year you're trying to get, I think, more profitable, so then you can invest more in the employees, because that's what this company is. It's about employees.
Right.
We don't make products. FRSecure will never make products. FRSecure is people.
Yeah, it's our expertise.
Yeah. So, and you're right. Culture is huge. If you want to, the one book that I read that really made sense to me on this was Start With Why.
Yeah.
Everybody here is so bought into our why, and it's beautiful.
Yes, I agree. You recommended that, and I read it, and I was like, "Oh, this just like so many things just clicked about why I did things the way I did it." And it was
super cool.
Yeah, definitely recommend it.
So culture definitely helps, in retention. And then there's the making the unicorn approach, which means you have identified somebody in your organization that you think is a good candidate to lead information security. They may not have the experience or the education, but they're somebody that is either volunteered for it. You can't afford to go hire it, so let's grow one. Let's grow the talent. So you send them to classes and you invest time and money, and lo and behold, they become pretty darn good at their job.
It's that, and it goes back to the classic. I think I saw it on LinkedIn just recently, where it's like, we can't afford to send this person to training, and then what if they leave? And it's like, well, the flip side is, what if we don't train them and they stay?
Right.
Like, just train them up and treat them right.
Conundrum.
And they'll.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that's one of the challenges, right?
Yeah.
Is trying to keep them after you've grown them, right? Because if you can't retain them after you've grown them, you're back to square one again. Maybe even worse, because the person that you identified as having those intangibles in your organization isn't there anymore.
Right.
So that's difficult. So career path, that's important. But a lot of people, the number one reason why people are actually leaving the organization, there's two reasons why seasoned, experienced information security people are leaving. Maybe three in the book anyway. One is lack of a career path. I was talking to, I told you this story. I was talking to the CISO of a Fortune 100 company. We were having coffee, and I said, "You're the CISO
now.
of this big company. Yeah, where are you going to go now? What's next?" It's like, "Wow, good. I didn't think of that." I'm like, I don't know either, man. It's weird because you work so damn hard in so many years to get to this leadership position in this large organization. You have such an impact on how the organization operates. There's no more next steps for you.
Right.
I've never seen a CISO promoted as CEO.
Right.
Unless you're in a security consulting company.
Right. Yeah.
So career path is one of those things. And so what they end up doing is they end up jumping from Fortune 100 to Fortune 100 to Fortune 100.
Right. It's that next challenge, right? We're in maintenance mode. I've done what I can here. There's nowhere to go. Yeah. I'm gonna go find my next challenge.
Yep. Burnout is another reason people are leaving. I mean, you work your ass off. Excuse my language. I don't know if I can say that in the
really
hanging out. I work my butt off.
Yeah.
And I that's my number one concern actually with you, because I think, you know, honestly, you're the future of the company, and so like you can't kill them. You know. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm pretty good. I think I've gotten to that point, not here, but in the past around, in other jobs and burned out. And I'm pretty good at recognizing it and self-policing. So, right now I'll work my butt off, come in early. The kids haven't had school. I've been in early every day working long hours. That's okay. It's a smile. I love what I do, right? That makes a difference. But on the weekends, right now with younger kids, unless there's an emergency, nope, that is time for unplugging and having family.
And that's
time.
that boundary, right?
Yep.
And that's when you get to the solutions in the second part of this chapter, that's what it's about. Establish healthy boundaries.
Yep.
Wherever they are, they're different for every person. I don't work on Saturdays.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Unless there's the sky is falling, an emergency.
Right.
Incident response, some weird something. But otherwise, I'm not writing a report on a Saturday. No. I'm not checking emails.
Right. I go home. From the time I get home till the kids are in bed, that is family time. And right now on the weekends.
It's especially in our jobs, and I think a lot of jobs, probably in general, but in a lot of in our job, we're never, ever, ever done.
Oh, no.
I've got 50 things on my task list right now, and I'll have 50 things on my task list after I've done those 50.
Yeah.
They just.
Yeah, I've had conversations with Renee, like on a Friday, I'm like, I'm further behind now than when I started the week. And I thought, man, this was a great productive week. Then I looked, I'm like, oh, how?
How did that happen?
People keep breaking things.
Well, I think you have to rely a lot on, it's also in the fixed part of this chapter is, relying on open communication, with your employees and your employer. Be real. Right?
Yeah.
You should never ever be penalized for, dude, I'm taking a week off. I'm tired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm taking tomorrow off.
Right.
Just because.
And there doesn't even have to be a reason for it.
Right.
Because
I'm taking the puppy to the vet, but
you should stop by on the way here to show us the puppy again.
It's not way out west.
No, it is pretty far. Beautiful. Your dog is so
cute. Your daughter was very unhappy she'd missed the puppy.
Oh, my daughter? Yeah.
You brought him in?
Right. We also have this issue with mental and physical health, believe it or not, in our industry. There's been some studies. I don't think anything that's been like comprehensive and credible. But some people claim that the suicide rate for information security people is higher.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I could sort of see that where you've got a lot of pressure. It's like IT only worse. IT, like the only time people hear about you are what are they doing? They must be playing games because they don't see anything or something's broken. Well, now it's even worse in security because, well, why didn't you fix the breach or catch this?
And it's also having other people relate to you, right?
Yeah.
My wife is not a security person.
Yeah.
So I have certain stresses that you deal with. Being like, I would think that's like a lot like, it's more extreme, but like a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Nobody knows what it's like to be a police officer unless you're a police officer. You have to have some outlets.
The way when just saying that really quick, because before, even it wasn't a dedicated security role, but I was basically the go-to for all of it. And you don't have anybody else to, am I doing this right? Like so much second guessing. And I came here and I was like, oh, this is so great because there's other people I can just. I went to one of the associate analysts and was just like, all right, I just need to bounce this off of you.
Yeah.
Like, what am I missing? Am I looking at this right? And just having somebody who, even who maybe doesn't have that experience, but can understand what I'm talking about and offer a perspective. And oh my gosh, it's just.
Well, think of what it means to them too.
Yeah.
When you have somebody who is experienced that is going to an associate and asking a question, you probably made their day, right?
Yeah.
Here's a guy with 20 years experience asking me with 1 year experience.
What am I missing on this? Like, what am I missing? But it is such a relief to have that many people.
That's really cool.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that till just now.
See, these hangouts are valuable.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. All right, so government issues, we have this, we are in a cyber war. I don't know if you knew that. There's different phases to wars, right? It's not like a cyber war where, it's not physical and there's not like people outwardly, dying by the thousands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's a different type of war, but I think, where we're at right now is it's an intelligence and asset gathering type phase. But there's a quote in here that still resonates very well with me. It's from Kevin Mandia, from Mandiant, who became FireEye.
Yeah.
It says the reality is all of Russia's cyber weapons went. Really can't read. I can write. The reality is, if all of Russia's cyber weapons went against us and all of our cyber weapons went against Russia, they would win. We should probably fix that. So that's another. There's just another problem.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Then we have the global problem. So take it into global problem. Talk about a little bit. Just a couple of little blurbs about economic security, the culture, gender inequity problem. That's a big deal. And there's stats. I put how we have a shortage of women. We also have a shortage of minorities in our industry. It doesn't represent the industry. It's sort of close to representing what we see in IT, but that still doesn't make it right.
No.
It's still,
Yeah, it makes sense though, because IT is probably the biggest feeder of information security, so you would expect to see similar.
Yeah, and they are pretty similar. But again, because I did have a couple of arguments with other security people on my assertion, because they were like, "Well, it's the same as IT." Yeah. I'm like, but that doesn't make it right.
Right.
We need to recruit more, because you and I have worked in some, I think, some diverse teams.
Mm-hmm.
Know that the more diverse a team is, the better the solutions are, because you have different perspectives from different points.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of the problems that we're solving every day, there's no manual.
No.
To solve this problem, it takes some creativity. It takes those different perspectives. So I think it's actually worse, much worse, that we don't have the same balance in information security that we do in IT. IT solutions are much easier to solve.
Mm-hmm.
Computers only do what I tell them to do. A router only does what it's been configured to do. The solutions are fairly straightforward.
Right.
It may be so many straightforward solutions that in a bigger context, it looks pretty complex and difficult to solve. But when you break it down, whereas information security, when you're dealing with people, which is the most significant risk, there's no 1 and 0 for that. There's
Yeah.
no on or off. They're
How do you relate to them? And
they're analog.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all over the dang place.
yeah,
So anyway, that's it. That just emphasizes even more why this is a problem that we need to concentrate on.
Mhm.
And just like any problem, you're not going to solve it just on accident. Well, not any problem. Most problems, you're not going to solve them on accident. You're going to have to be deliberate about it.
Mhm.
You're going to have to actually focus on this. Oh, here's a graph that I had in here. See, I forgot so many of these things.
yeah. I was just looking at it.
So 55% of the workforce, just the general workforce, is men. 45% is female. Whereas in information security, it's 80-20.
Yeah.
So there's some work to do there. And I give in the book some places where we can either invest time, invest money, or if you are a woman in this industry, some places where you can find some cover. The SANS Cyber Talent Immersion Academy for women, the Computer Science for Cybersecurity Summer Program for high school women, Women's Society of Cyber Jiu-Jitsu, and then Women in Cybersecurity. Those are all good organizations. We have the racial inequity problem. I talked about that. Some resources. We need more unicorns. Okay, so solution 2, or solution, the second part of the book, and we've got about 15 minutes. Supply problem ideas. We have a supply and demand. Demand is not likely to go down
No.
anytime soon. People are talking AI, machine learning, whatever. You're a ways away from when that's going to start replacing, security people in bulk. And not just that, but you're still going to have somebody design the AI, and there is some maintenance involved with AI. So it's not like you're just kind of taking it over here and putting it over here.
Yeah, it's not a magic fix.
Right. So you're not going to have supply. You're not going to have demand go down. So you're going to have to increase supply. And that's just, or use the supply you have maybe more efficiently, which would be things like the VCSO, where I don't need a full-time information security person. So I get a fractional person. So you're using, see, this is the networking side of me. I'm thinking subnets. You're given a big class B, but I don't need a big class B. I just need it, so you segment it to make it.
Well, we've seen some of the better, more successful programs take the VCSO and then identify somebody in-house.
Yes.
So it's almost a combination of those two
So you're
pieces.
almost like growing a unicorn because you're doing
With
some
an
knowledge
expert,
transfer.
with an expert kind of guiding them that you don't have that expertise in-house. You don't need somebody full-time. You just need somebody to coach and provide guidance.
So they train them up and then they come work here.
I mean, that's their choice.
It's happened.
It has.
But then you feel bad about it. You do, actually. I got a call once from the CEO of another company because we had taken 2. Yeah, we did. But he got one of them back. So early education is another potential solution. So these are supply problem ideas, right? That we need to commit to. I think we owe it. Every information security person owes it to give back something to this community, to the information security community. Most of us, probably all of us at some level do here. Yeah. We do the mentor program. You're doing a mentor program at Wazetta schools, right? Those are, those are contributions. And if everybody made contributions, we'd fix this problem.
Yeah, it'd be a big difference.
Yeah. So that's kind of the call, I think the theme in the second part of this. Early education, all kinds of things that are happening around early education and how we should really invest our time and money. We had another guy, we had the leader of like a STEM thing in a school and on our podcast. Yeah. And I'd asked him, how do I get that in Waconia? That's where I have one still at school, but that's what, how do I get that going in our school district? Because we need advice. Because as a parent, we should start asking these things.
Yeah. I do the IC Squared has the Safe and Secure Online for like that 10 to 12 years.
You were doing that before you even came here.
Yeah. So, but it's just changing the mindset early and getting them thinking that way.
Right.
It's easier than fixing it up later or trying to.
I'm telling you, it's so rewarding to give time, you know.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, every single email or that we
It's-
get back from a CISSP mentor program student who went and took and passed their CISSP and asks us for endorsement,
No,
how does that make you feel?
it makes it feel, yeah, it's worth it. You're like,
Right.
oh, good, I made a difference.
Right. I mean, if you did that whole, because it takes 14 classes,
Yeah.
7 weeks. If only one person, right?
It's
It's
worth
worth
it.
it. And I just love it. Whenever I get one of those emails, it like makes my day.
Yeah.
Whole rest of the day, I could have crappy meetings all the
It
rest
may,
of the
well,
day.
yeah, and it's worth the sacrifice, right? It's like,
Mhm.
okay,
Right.
we are making, it's worth it. It's not, I'm just sitting up here talking to myself.
Right. Totally. So so those are two. Should recap. Early education is one. Free training. We've seen a big increase in free training in our industry. Was unfamiliar. Oh yeah. Lots of, we started our free training here when we had 4 employees.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it was 2010. We started the CISSP mentor program. We had 4 employees. We had 6 students. So the 6 students outnumbered. Every single one of those 6 students passed the CISSP, right? And then years go on, and this year will mark the 10th year we've done the CISSP mentor program. Last year we had 353 students.
Something 350, 360, right in that mid 300,
Yeah.
350s.
So to go from 6 to 353, it's like, and then we're getting people then we post them online, right, for people so they can go
Yeah.
watch them if you can't make the time.
Yeah.
And we get a lot, occasionally we'll get messages from people that found it online.
Yep. Yeah. I got a couple people on LinkedIn. I reached out to connect and I said, I found your previous versions.
Right. Yeah.
This is fantastic.
And so I love it.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
it's so cool to give back to our community that way. And we'll always do it, I guess, as long as I'm here. Because there's been, money people are like, we should be charging for this.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, we're not charging for this. Well, even if we just charge like $50 or $100 a student, no, we're not charging for this. You're missing the point, right? Because when you think about it, like if I was, let's say I was, I want to change careers. I'm an accountant,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I've always kind of felt like I want to do security, and there's such a great opportunity. What are my options?
Right.
Right, and it's kind of laid out in the book. I could go get my degree, right? Some people will tell you, well, you better have a degree. You can't do security without a degree. You saw what happened to Susan Malden at Equifax having a degree.
You better have the right degree.
Right,
Not
because
just
she
a
had
degree.
a music degree. Oh my God, I can't believe it. So some people will tell you that. Well, that's what, 60 grand, maybe? I don't know what it's
Yeah.
going to cost, but it's a lot.
A lot.
And you're going to get an entry level job at any place that knows things.
Right.
And on the other side, if you did get that high paying job, now you're kind of living this false kind of, I mean, it's just weird.
Yeah.
The other option is to, and I'm not saying that that's not a good option either, right? If you have $60,000, you can get somebody to
And you
pay
have the
that
time to do
$60,000.
it. Yeah.
There's some good material in that class that you won't learn any other way.
Right.
So that's good. Is I go and get a certification, right? Maybe a CISSP. Well, most CISSP learning programs are $5,000-$6,000. Plus, then I got to pay my, what is it? How much is it for the exam now? $500-$600?
$600, something like that.
So it's going to be an outlay of, $6,000, $7,000.
Right. Yeah. Plus training material,
Right.
books, and yeah.
So it's either get somebody to pay for it, and who would they get? It'd probably be your employer.
Right. But if
Or
you're transitioning jobs, or no,
Right.
you're on your
your
own.
employer. If you're in accounting, you go to your employer and want to get expense reimbursement for a CISSP mentor program, or not the mentor program, a CISSP
Right.
boot camp.
Right.
Well, why? Well, because I want to leave.
Right.
Well, okay, I'll pay you $5,000-$6,000 for you to leave.
Right.
So it doesn't happen. So you're kind of stuck. And so that's why I really like some of these free training programs that have originated. There's more, right?
Yep.
We do the CISSP mentor program. I don't know if these other programs were there back then.
I know I used CyberArray kind of as a last.
That's a great resource.
Yeah, their CSSP piece. I can't remember. It was I wouldn't have been able to pass with that alone,
Mhm.
but it was incredible to like make some connections.
Yeah.
It was explaining a way that I now integrate when we do ours. That
Right.
I was like, oh, a couple aha moments.
Yeah. So free training is definitely, I'd love to see hundreds, thousands more, you know, just think if every information security consulting company did a CISSP mentor program.
Yeah.
I mean, there's you'd fix your supply problem there too, probably. And it's not a huge time commitment. I mean, it is. For 7 weeks,
Right.
for me and you, it's a pain in the butt. But the rewards far exceed any of that. So because it's 6 to 8, it's 4 hours a week.
Yeah.
At night. But then the prep work that goes into it. I mean, it's quite a few hours that go into prepping for each class.
Yeah, it keeps us up to date. That's the way you stay
It
up
makes
to
you a
date
better
on this
security
stuff.
person too, right?
Yeah. Oh, there's so much stuff I've forgotten.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, and then another thing is mentorship. Everybody, I think, gosh, it'd be great if everybody in information security had a mentor. Had a mentee.
Mm.
That you're just walking alongside somebody, right? And kind of teaching them the ropes and how these things work. And there are opportunities. I mean, I know you're working with a school district, right? Where you get to mentor high school students.
We've got at least 3 of the analysts are doing
3
that.
of our analysts
At
are
least 3.
mentoring other high school students.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. The other things that you could do is hire for the intangibles and teach them. It's kind of this, you'll have the same sort of conundrum of growing unicorns, but if you've truly made the right intangible hire, somebody who's bought into your company, your mission, your culture, your family,
And then,
they'll work longer.
if you have the career path and have those other things laid out, it makes it a lot easier to hire for that because then they see where they can go.
Right. Apprenticeships, should be a lot more apprenticeships. Yeah, that's more of that stuff. Market factors, experience does matter, and that's it. That's that check. And then it goes into the acknowledgements. So that's that. Any questions? Anything I can answer for anybody online that Brad will answer? Because I'm going to volunteer you. Oh, the mentor program. Should we talk more about that?
I do have sort of one issue to kind of bring up. 2 things that are sort of been an issue for me since May last year. Just for context, my experience is primarily in the public sector, either with the military or central government, and also being ex-military. I've only been in the private sector the last 5 years, but one of the things I've seen constantly is that there are individuals who are looking for new members of staff, new joiners, bring in talent from the outside, and by the time the corporate HR people have finished writing the job description, they're never going to get the people they want. And so this constant friction, I guess, or tension between operations sides of things and HR sides of things who, you're never going to get someone with 15 years experience taking a job for $25,000 a year in any industry. The other big issue here in the UK, oblique EU, but not for much longer, is GDPR. You were talking about certification issues. There's one company that offers certification training for practitioners, and each country, the way GDPR works, each country in the EU sets up its own adjudication body.
Mm-hmm.
The UK does not have one. They do not have any kind of formal assessment program for GDPR practitioners. This company is out there charging people $2,400 for a 4-day course to basically certificate them, and they're the only people that recognize the certificate. Yet there are hundreds of jobs out there. People, there's a huge shortage of GDPR practitioners, and everyone who's hiring wants someone who's got a certificate.
Mm.
Mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's good to know that that's the, I mean, I like that. I like your perspective because, here at, stateside, we don't have that same twist on things, that you're describing. We certainly have the disconnect between operations and HR. We see that, all the time. So you bring up a good point. I think HR should become better educated on what an information security person is, and what
It's funny because the GDPR thing kind of hits on the experience issue as well. I don't work as a GDPR practitioner. I've got a lot of experience of the issues in it because I've worked in policy, organizational compliance for about 15 years. So, ensuring that operational sides of either the military or government are actually in compliance with a whole raft of privacy legislation, human rights legislation, and so on. I could do the job. I don't.
Right.
But we're trying to get qualified, certificated, and experienced GDPR practitioners. Boom, unicorn.
Yeah. So are they? So in that the company or the certification that you were talking about, is that being accepted? I mean, is that something that people are asking for when they're hiring those GDPR practitioners?
To a degree, it's a bit hard to tell. From what I've heard from other people, they're just not hiring because the people that are coming through are people who've gone out and spent money on a qualification that doesn't really exist. So they're not that particularly interested in them. If they can get through an interview and demonstrate that they've got the knowledge primarily, then they can go somewhere with that. But then again, it's something that's a bit new. A lot of people are saying, well, they're not sure how to interview these people in the first place. They're still waiting for guidance from here, the ICO, which is the government body that regulates privacy issues here. So yeah, it's there's a couple of good articles out there on the issue. Hold on a second there. If anyone is really, really bored later on, you can have a look at that.
I like reading
But
stuff.
all you have to do is Google GDPR and job and see what comes up. And we're just falling over ourselves here, advertising for jobs that just don't seem to get filled.
Well, do you think that the EU is going to create a certification for a GDPR practitioner or sanction?
It's the way the regulation is worded. It's up to each nation,
Right.
Within the EU to come up with their own accreditation scheme because it's administered on a nation-by-nation basis. So if there are breaches, GDPR breaches in the UK, it's the ICO in the UK that deals with them. They're the ones that have been fining people left, right, and center. There have been some significantly big fines. Well, in numbers terms, perhaps not that big for the corporations involved, but it's coming out, and that's because a lot of the companies here are simply ignoring the regulations, and they're now starting to find out. They're getting, I think there was one was 150 million a couple weeks back. So that's the kind of we're trying to get your attention. We'd like you to talk to us sort of territory.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, so Google, as you saw, was fined a week or two ago.
Yeah, 50 million.
There was only $50-something million to Google. That's nothing, right? But It's the precedent that it sets, because now you're starting to see GDPR being interpreted on how it's going to be enforced, and so people should take notice that it's not going away.
So what will happen here is the ICO will run training and provides guidance to organizations on how to be compliant. So you can, as an organization, you can become certified. You can prove you can prove that that your environment is, it's a bit like the brain drain. Yeah, but about having your security plan in place, ready to go. You can prove that you've got all your policies, processes, and so on in place,
Sure.
and that if you then screw up, if you can show that you've done everything you were meant to do, and something still happened, then you are very unlikely to be fined for non-compliance. So a lot of, there's growth area there for practitioners, because it goes right down. It goes right down to the individual level. I run a small side business in research, and I have to comply with it.
Oh yeah.
I pay a small fee every year to say that I recognize I'm liable for all, however many pages it is of the guidance now.
Sure.
It's all straightforward.
Paul,
it's easy for a security person as well.
yeah. Well, and Paul, I want to follow up with you after this. I'd like to hear more of your perspective on some of these things, because being that it's right there for you, we're stateside. We have less than a handful of clients in Europe. So I'd like to talk to you more, outside of this. But we're coming up on the end of time. Yeah. If anybody else has, any questions, email us. We're not, I always say, and I don't know if there's any lawyers online or not, but we don't work like lawyers. So if you have a question, you want to talk about something, you're not going to get a bill for it. We really urge people to work together to solve some of these things. If you are not listening to the Unsecurity podcast, give it a listen. We publish every Tuesday.
Brandon?
Yeah.
It gets published on Monday morning.
Monday morning.
Yep, Monday morning.
Yeah, and we'd love to have more listeners and have your feedback. We're trying to provide value and help people out. So let us know how we're doing.
Yeah, it's kind of a weekly extension of this, so it's pretty fun and enjoyable. And I think Brad and Evan's banter is always fun to listen to. So I listen every week personally. So, and I'm not even a security guy. I seem to enjoy it as well. So, well, with that, I think we'll wrap up here. Thank you all for hanging out with us today. We're gonna have to figure out what to do with these moving forward, since you've just wrapped up the chapters here, but I'm sure we'll come up with something good so that we can keep these conversations rolling, because they seem to be pretty fun. So be on the lookout for the recording. If you don't know where to find the podcast, you can find it on the same site that I mentioned you can get the book at, and that's evanfrancen.com. And like Evan said, feel free to shoot any of us an email or a note if you do have further comments or questions or suggestions or anything like that. So with that, enjoy the rest of your day. Try to stay warm out there if you're where we are, and we'll catch you next month.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Bye.
Well done, yeah.
Take care. Bye.